Let's talk to Andrew Fox. He's a research fellow at the Henry Jackson Society. He's also ex-military man himself, a defence and Middle East expert, and someone who has spent quite a lot of time in recent months, not just in Israel, but also in Gaza as well. Andrew Fox, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Julia. Good to see you.
I wonder what we should talk about today, eh? Of course, the Trump peace plan. He says it's going to bring eternal peace in the Middle East. He says potentially one of the greatest days ever in civilization. Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, in the White House yesterday at that joint press conference, agreeing to this 20-point peace plan. Now we're waiting on Hamas, who the BBC report are examining it in, quote, good faith, close quotes. First of all, what do you make of the peace plan? And second of all, do you think Hamas will accept it?
So it's got some good bits and some bits we can be a little bit more sceptical about.
Which bits are which?
Yeah, so I mean, the bottom line is that the hostages come home. And if that comes off, then that is the best possible outcome as far as Israel is concerned. It also means they can end this long, slow bleed in Gaza and, start to heal their society from the traumas of 24 months of war. And it gives the Palestinians a chance to do the same. Whether Hamas will seize the deal, I don't know. I suspect Qatar will give them very clear instructions that if they don't, they'll be hoyed out of Doha and be told to found a new home.
Do you think that's part of that phone call? So in return for Netanyahu making that phone call to the Emir of Qatar, basically apologising for those strikes which killed some of the Hamas leadership in Qatar, that basically that's part of the deal. But in return, Qatar, wakey, you can't keep these terrorists, you can't play the middleman anymore and keep these terrorists on your soil.
Yeah, exactly that. I think we're seeing a lot of theatre going on over the last 24 hours. I suspect a lot of what's being discussed is already agreed. I would be very surprised if Mr. Netanyahu didn't know the terms of the deal before he landed in Washington.
Yeah.
The UN General Assembly last week was a great opportunity to get everyone together, get the Arabs on board, get Egypt on board, and this is the kind of end stage now. I suspect that perhaps even the deal has been done with Hamas already, if it comes good. But the downside is it doesn't really deal with the issue of Palestinianism, which is the river to the sea, remove the state of Israel, replace with something else. There's an articulated pathway to peace in the deal where, if they behave themselves and jump through the hoops, they reach a position of statehood in due course. That's where the tricky part comes in, because obviously the West Bank is a whole different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
And you can remove Hamas from Gaza, but you still have 2 million people there who hate Israel and want to see it destroyed.
Yeah. And that's the key thing, isn't it? This is not, as lots of people like to play it, sort of 2 million innocent people wandering around who suddenly had this terrorist group imposed on them in a war they wanted nothing of. Mass support, very clear mass support within Gaza for what happened on October the 7th. Many civilians taking part in the second and third waves of people crossing over the border to carry out rape and mutilation and murder and to take hostages. I mean, we've really got to be honest about that. The radicalisation of society in Gaza is so shocking, and that's one of the reasons why, let's face it, Egypt hasn't opened its borders. None of the other Arab states want these people. They could easily, take them if they chose into their populations, but they don't want to. We know that the other Middle Eastern, big power blocks, the Egyptians, the Saudis, the United Arab Emirates, and others, they are on board with this and have been signed up to this. We know they want Hamas out of the way. What do you make of this idea of this sort of protectorate, effectively ruled by this technocratic board of peace led by Donald Trump? You think he might have other things to do at home. So Tony Blair, of all people, involved. How would that go down, particularly in the Middle East, given his history with the Iraq War?
I think he actually carries far more credit in the Middle East, Blair, than you would expect. He's played it very well. So I guess we're going to see new Gaza.
Things can only get better. Things can only get fatter. I don't know.
I like that. Very good. But look, I don't think Hamas are necessarily going anywhere. All they have to do is drop their weapons, say they're good and they get this amnesty, they can leave if they want to. But, the idea of Hamas, they're a Muslim Brotherhood organisation. They play the long game. They think in decades. And they'll know they've only got really 3 years to wait out until there's somebody else in the White House. And if it's a Democrat, they're in a great place because 8% support for Israel among Democrats at the moment, 6% if you drop to the youth age groups. And there's every chance that they could then leverage that at the UN Security Council and so on and so forth. So if I'm Hamas right now, I'm handing in my weapons, I'm claiming that I'm standing down. I'll send a few people to take one for the team and emigrate. And then I'm just going to wait, bide my time, reload, and then try and seize control of Gaza through whatever means I can.
That's the question. When people say, well, would Hamas agree to this? I mean, there is a loss of a bit of territory in the buffer zone. And Gaza is not very big, so, that's a loss of territory. There is the idea of this sort of, the trust they'd have to give where they would release the hostages, all 20 alive and 28, I believe, dead, in return for afterwards getting back a load of, some convicted murderers, convicted terrorists, and also some detainees. I mean, about 1,000 plus. There's an element of trust there, but there's also an element where what's not to like if you're Hamas? I mean, surely lay down your arms, say you're no longer part of Hamas, reconstruction, all the money comes in, just bide your time, and then change your name to another organisation and run for election if and when there are democratic elections as part of a Palestinian state. Bob's your uncle, you're back in power. I mean, I can't work out what isn't a great deal for Hamas here.
Yeah, and exactly that. And if we look back to Basra in 2003, 4 and 5, that's exactly what happened with the Brits. It went very quiet after we seized Basra. And we found lots of lovely people to work with who then got elected and turned out to be the Islamic slates that then ran the militias that drove us out of Basra. So that there's a bit of a pattern here in the Middle East that's quite an easy one to slip into, I suspect. So that's where that's going to go. I can say with relative certainty.
Is there an element to this? This is like a cunning wheeze by Trump and Netanyahu. Yes, Trump would love to be the architect of peace, but I mean, genuinely, Obama got nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize within a few weeks of him becoming to power. He hadn't done anything, for goodness sake, before he was nominated for one. Realistically, if Donald Trump was able to bang heads together enough and bring this to peace and sort this out, this long-running, decades-long war, he would absolutely deserve a Nobel Peace Prize, would he not? But is this not about him and his ego and getting a Nobel Peace Prize? Is it in his legacy? Is it actually more a way of saying, look, I can either get that, on the other side, Hamas don't toe the line with this. As you said, he will let, with impunity, effectively, Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli government, the IDF forces, finish the job. His words, finish the job, and basically, seize Gaza City and completely destroy Hamas. I mean, let's face it, this is an easier option for Netanyahu, even with some dissent on the right wing of his government. But nevertheless, this is win-win for both Trump and Netanyahu, isn't it?
Well, I don't think so, because finishing the job, what does that even look like? How do you bomb an ideology out of existence? It doesn't happen. And if we look at we tried to do that. We did it with Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. We tried to do that with ISIS. Why does the West keep thinking they can do that? Well, in Afghanistan, it was quite the opposite of trying to bomb them out of power. We were trying to nation build in a place that wasn't a nation. So that Afghan was a slightly different one.
The aim of the Afghan war was to oust the Taliban, who had harboured Al-Qaeda terrorists. That was the initial aim of the war.
It was, but it swiftly turned into something else, as I can testify from first-hand experience.
There,
but if you look at ISIS, what happened is they fled into Africa, and now they're still a significant force in the Sahel and Western Africa.
And we'll be dealing with that next, is my guess. Yeah.
Potentially, but there are these ideologies that tend to mutate and move around and shift and move between countries and don't see barriers like national borders as a thing. So terrorism itself is very difficult to get a handle on.
If you had to put money on it in the next few days, will Hamas agree to this or not? And will we see the release of the hostages, if that is within the agreement, within 72 hours? That, look, next Tuesday is the second anniversary, October the 7th. That would, be absolutely, a game changer for people in Israel who have spent, 2 years demanding every day, bring them home, wearing their yellow ribbons and talking about their plight. We're talking about people who are being starved and tortured right now in tunnels. Do you think Hamas would accept the deal or not, if you had to put money on it?
I'd lean sort of 51% yes, because I think Qatar is going to has been well briefed and is going to give them the good news. There are still members in Hamas leadership who are fully on the death cult side of things.
Yeah.
Obviously not for them, because they're living in 7-star hotels in Doha, but they're firmly in support of everyone dying for their jihad in Gaza. It's whether those voices can be suppressed sufficiently to get the deal over the line is going to make the difference.
It's going to be absolutely fascinating to watch. Andrew Fox, always appreciate your analysis. Thank you very much indeed.